Environmental monitoring is very important because we have to protect our lands. We have to protect our lands for our future generation. If we do not do that, there will be no opportunities for our youths to learn about the forest and what it has to offer.
Our experiences in the communities with monitoring by government agency has not been effective, right? And therefore, community-based monitoring should be recognized as contributing to protection and of our lands, of our rivers. And this is why I was pointing out before that it's extremely important that indigenous peoples do the monitoring themselves. And it can only be useful, I think, in two ways if indigenous peoples use this information very strongly and in a very strategic manner in their advocacy for protection of lands, protection of rights, protection to the environment. And it also plays an important role, I think, if there is political will by any political administration to recognize and respect that information coming from organized community-based monitoring is presented, that they should take that information and use it to now influence their policy decisions and other decisions that they make with regards to extractive activity or any hinterland development.
The APA, for many years since its formation, has been doing some type of monitoring or the other. We monitor policy, we monitor laws, but we also monitor on the ground, like communities, issues, and things like that. The APA over the years would have produced what we call land tenure assessments, where we went into the communities to collect data on different types of things, including geographic information. So we have a history of working with communities, working with persons from the communities to actually conduct the monitoring activities, actually conduct interviews and research.
In terms of governance for the communities, it has been able to provide information, in fact, to the communities about what is happening around them. One of the objectives of doing this was so that the leaders could also use the information for community, for national advocacy in relation to their issues that they're confronting as well.
Information is always required by government officials when indigenous peoples advocate for protection of their lands, resources, protection of their waters. And so information gathered by indigenous peoples, it is independent and it is very reliable. This is coming from people who live in the lands, themselves. And so this is why it's very important that indigenous people's right to information and their right to submit information is respected and be considered and recognized by governments in their plans for extractive sector, whether for hinterland, infrastructural development. All of these are important and necessary that governments recognize this information. It also helps indigenous peoples to have information, a database that is useful for their generations to come. It helps them to identify what resources they have, how it should be managed and protected for their future generations.
I think it's one of the great things that we have been doing over the years in that we involve the people in their own research rather than coming as outsiders and doing the research on our own. Of course, taking information from them. We allow them to do the research and then just compile that information into data.
The potential impact on the youth population, learning, knowledge building, understanding land issues, understanding rights issues, all of that are potential outcomes of the monitoring activities. I can refer to a youth who actually is from Region 8, but started off doing work with the AP when he was like 16 or 17, a very young youth. And he was just out of school, didn't know where he was going, but he was recommended as one of these youths who had been more serious in school, and while he's quiet, he may be able to work with your project. And we're talking about mapping and land tenure assessment. which is also included in monitoring. So he trained, he sat with the older folks, and I'm talking those in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and so forth, and he was able to hear the stories that they spoke of in relation to land, hunting, fishing, the value of trees, the value of language, the value of culture, the value of preservation of culture, and so forth. And he is now, I guess, in his early 20s, but he has built up so much of experience for a young person, so much of knowledge, and he continued to build on it because he now has been trained in doing environmental monitoring and other areas. And he is one of those who came out of school, only has a basic secondary education. But I can tell you that his 5 years or so, since he was 17, 16 plus, or however, would have given him so much more knowledge just by being in the field, just by being on the ground. And I think so much more an appreciation as well for the forest, for the people who live in it, himself as an indigenous person. I think that's of great value.
My name is Kimal Robinson. I'm from Quito. I started the work at 16. I'm 22 right now. The position I hold, I am a mapping coordinator in the region under the NPDC, the North Pacraimus District Council. I saw the need for mapping because we are being bullied by other people, especially minors. What I thought best was as we map our place, our homes, our land, we can see clearly that, all right, X point to X point, this is where the miners are, this is how much they're doing. So in the years to come or days to come, we can see if they're destroying more land or they stop. Youths are important. It's critical that they be involved, especially when it comes to when it comes to making decisions and stuff. I think they should be involved because they too know that our land is important to us, and it's not us alone. We will have children, grandchildren tomorrow.
Guyana is a beautiful country, yes, but I think a lot of it is being destroyed by persons who really have no interest in preservation of the land or the environment. They're looking more at the economic gains in terms of how much money they can make, how much gold they can make, and this in itself is a driver of the problem because it starts with us, the people. We're the ones who are making those bad decisions and destroying our country. And I believe we can benefit so much more if we don't damage our country and destroy the forest.